What's good, everybody? It is Sully, and welcome back to another episode of Sully's Mistake Factory. Now, in that last episode, guys, we talked about solar and getting everything set up. We talked about the load and the demands and how big of a house bank we're going to need, how many panels we're going to use, the space that we have available, and all of that. We kind of walked you through all of those steps. Well, now is the time we're going to see, do we have the room for the solar panels up there? What am I going to do down in that engine space down there? Because I did do a house bank, but I think we're going to have to beef that up like we talked about, because 2 batteries just not going to be enough. Probably going to have to go to 4. So without further ado, guys, it is pretty cold. You can see my breath as I'm talking here, but not to fret. We have the diesel heat cranking away right there, going down below. So it is toasty warm. So without further ado, guys, let's get inside and get after this. So in that first episode, we kind of talked about what are our expectations for our solar? What are our draws? What are we looking to do? How much power should we be putting in? What should we expect because we're actually up here in New England? How many hours per day should I expect peak optimum output and all that good stuff? So we got that all dialed in, and that kind of gave us what we should be looking for a battery capacity, as well as what size solar array we should be looking at to make sure we stay net positive. Now, that's not to say we can always be net positive. Sometimes you're gonna have to do power management. You're not gonna be able to leave your fridge on. You're not gonna be able to do all those kind of things. Or you're gonna have to do bigger arrays. Now, guys, look, I got brand new canvas over me and I am inside. It's actually great, I love it. I don't have to take my canvas down every winter. That's awesome, that's less wear and tear. So if I put solar up there, I can get away with it. But at some point in time, guys, I'm hoping to be cruising. Maybe I'm gonna leave the boat someplace. Maybe I'm gonna be in Michigan or something. And I'm gonna leave it for the winter where they don't have the luxury of a traveling guy leaving his boat for the winter in inside heated storage. The canvas has gotta come off, the solar's gotta come off, then you gotta unwire it. At that point in time, it's a couple years down the road, you've forgotten how it all works. It's just not gonna do it, right? If it's easy, you'll do it. If it's not, you won't. We are basic, simple human monkeys. That's just human nature. Keep it simple, right? So I'm not doing it there. But I do have this big hardtop back here over my aft deck that has a lot of space. And now, before this solar project popped up, this was actually gonna be this season's Sully's Mistake Factory. We're gonna dig into some composite and fiberglass work, because this thing is worked. It is tired, it is old, it has seen better days, it needs to be rebuilt. So I don't wanna put solar panels on top of something that I'm gonna have to eventually take back off, because they are peel and stick solar panels. So with that in mind, guys, I'm gonna do a small substrate, probably some G10 or something. I haven't figured out that part of it yet. But I can build that off the boat, 2 sections, do a left and a right side with the panels attached to it. And then when it comes time to finally redo this hardtop, I'm set. I can just pop those off. I don't have to redo my panels, and I can have this all set up and be very proactive. Like I said, guys, this thing's whooped. It's worked, it's tired. But all of this is going to be solar. And I think it's gonna go pretty much from those rails there. I think there's gonna be a gap down the middle here, probably about 1 inch or so if I measured correctly. And so we've got all that, and then it's gonna kind of go straight over and almost to, I think that rail right there. So we're gonna have this space here. So we're gonna have a wire run down this side. And normally you would just hop into the arch right here. Now, this arch is set up on this boat right here, guys. If you take a look, it actually is hinged. You can see the stainless plate right here. It's kind of dark, sorry guys, but trust me, it is a hinged hardtop. So if I put a wire into the side of that, I gotta leave slack, I gotta do something. And well, I've never taken the arch down, but everything I put on here, including like these speaker wires, my radar, my Lumishore lighting, everything else, all has enough slack in here so that it can be lowered down. It's a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna do it, but who knows, maybe I'm cruising some point in time and height becomes an issue. I can quickly lower, well, quickly is a stretch, but I can lower the arch down and I can take care of it. So I didn't want to have to do that with my solar and disconnect my solar and have all that stuff going on. So I started looking around again, start looking, and that's, guys, we take a peek down here. You can see I've got a upright right there. I've got another upright right there. And then you can see I've actually removed the one right here. That is this guy right here. And I said, well, gee, that's coming down right into where the wires need to go. So that would actually work out really good. And then if you guys take a look, that'll come in right there. And now I have a wide open run going forward. And that is mirrored on both sides. So now I've got a great run. But That, guys, you see in the camera right there, has not been cut out yet, and it's decently thick. So we're gonna have to put that in the vise, chalk that thing all up, and then we're gonna go ahead and drill that out so that we have enough room for a 10-2 wire with a little bit of play. And then we can just put a deck gland in there on either side. I can run the wires forward on both sides, and God forbid something did happen, I can always take one offline easily and still have the other online as well. So that is kind of the plan, guys. Like I said, it's laying this all out, making sure this all makes sense, and kind of figuring it out as we go before we actually cut into anything. I can take that down, we can get that all taken care of, and we should be able to do a fair bit off the boat prep-wise for this one, which will be nice. And now we can go down below to the bilge and engine space, and we can dig into the next part of this equation, because if you're gonna do solar, you should probably look at your battery bank as well. So let's go check that out. All right, so now we've already done the math. We figured out, you know, what kind of the draws we're gonna have, how long we expect to run, what kind of size solar panels we're gonna put in, and the charge controller. Well, we need to figure out is the battery bank, right? We ran the numbers and we saw it, and it said, you know, it should probably be in that 400 to 500 amp hour range for a thorough, you know, long haul overnight. And we also know that we're going to be in the positive side on the solar panels with this. So I don't need to go all the way to that 500 side. I'm going to go to the 400 side. Now, if you guys remember last season in Sully's Mistake Factory, I actually added a house bank to this boat because it didn't even have that for the first, 30 years of its life. So that was great. However, I only added 2 Group 31 batteries in there because I went from none, 2's pretty darn good, but that's 200 amp hours. And because they are lead acid, that's really 100 amp hours, because you can only get that 50%. If you guys remember, when you're talking about lead acid, you basically subtract 50% out of that equation, like we already talked about. So, guys, I did that over there. We added in the 2 house batteries right there, made that nice starboard panel, mounted everything right there. We got all of our relays, we got our remote battery switch, we have our ACR, we've got our smart boat, everything's going on really nice in there. So, what am I gonna do? I've gotta add 2 more batteries to this equation. And if you take a look over here, I started kind of messing around and plotting, and I couldn't cleanly add 2 more batteries here and still have access to my through hull and to my transducer and not get tight to this globe and all of that. So I started looking around a little bit more and said, gee, where else can I put this? The other thing we need to take into consideration here is I'm going to be adding an inverter into it. Now, it is a big inverter. I am not going to be utilizing its full capabilities right out of the gate with this. It is a 3,000 watt inverter. I could blow through my battery bank like that. It is going to require 4-aught battery cable to feed it. And it should probably be less than 5 foot each way. 5-6 foot is kind of that ideal range for that much load going back and forth. And if you take a look again over here, guys, I don't have room to slap in an inverter without doing some serious engineering, getting rid of the sonar hub, probably getting rid of the Fireboy, relocating a lot of that stuff. And that seemed like a lot of work. This didn't work. So that means we had to put the thinking cap back on here, guys, and kind of reassess. So I slept on it and I came back, and I think I have the proper solution for this now. So let's see. This space right here, guys, I actually made this grid. This was just bilge, and I had it as storage. And I kind of looked at it and said, I'm willing to give up storage because actually I know I'm going to gain it back over there by not having the batteries there. I can put the batteries here. So my simple mind, I am not the best when it comes to math and mathing things. So I said, let me make a cutout. I know the size of those battery trays right there. So if I know the size of those trays, I can make templates and I can see, do I need to make a new board here or not? So a little bit of cardboard magic. We slam these in here and I start putting these guys down. And again, I even went a little bit on the larger side for these cutouts. And I said, well, I can fit 3 right there without a problem at all. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna wanna scoot them back because you notice I had these slots in here for drains. And we want to make sure we're getting good screw points, so we slide those back there so we've got some good. We allow a little bit of air space between the batteries, but that's 3. Well, look at that, guys. Bammer. I can slide a 4th one in right there. So I've solved my first problem. Where am I going to put 4 Group 31 batteries? Now, I think in the future, if you really wanted to, maybe if I decided to go lithium down the road and take this all back out again, you could put 2 4D lithiums right there. Why am I not doing that now? A, I don't feel like ponying up for 4D lithiums. I'm not spending that much time off the hook. And why aren't I just doing regular 4Ds? Well, I've been in the industry almost 40 years now. I've moved my fair of 4Ds. I'm not doing that anymore. My back said no. So, Group 31's fitting right down there is a really good solution. That's going to give us 400 amp hours, which is 200 amp hours because we cut it in half, right? Which is what the formula said. So we should be good. And I should be net positive during the summer months, which is when I'm using the boat, up here in New England to allow to be filling back into there. So we still got to find a home for that inverter charger. Well, if we do all of this, I've got this right here. The stairs are up right now, but I've got all this space right here, guys. So what I can do is I can do a bus bar and a bus bar. So that's my positive and my negative bus bar right here per ABYC, keeping it nice tight to the battery bank. And then I can run my cables over here to feed into my house. And I can actually probably gonna relocate that RBS over to here so that it's right there. That's just a matter of stretching out some wires. That shouldn't be too big of a deal. And that should really be the only change I need to do over there is that RBS. Because now with that RBS right there, I can go ahead and power everything all up there. And I can go ahead and dump my negative that was on the battery bank right there. That can go ahead and get dumped into there. And so, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit thicker cable, but it's a pretty simple, pretty straightforward run. So that's really good. And then if we come over here to this side, you can see I've got the tried and true Pro Mariner 40 amp charger right there, my fire extinguisher, and I've got this outlet. So I started looking around. I said, you know, maybe I can move this Pro over to there, move that toad out of the way. And I started looking around and started measuring it, and well, I made a nice little template right here, guys. If you take a look, I move things around here. If I move that outlet out of the way right there, guys, this inverter fits really nice right here, and I don't have to move that charger. Yes, I'll move the fire extinguisher. I can actually probably put that over here on this side. And then I have my inverter, and it is a nice short sub 5 foot run between here and the house bank. I can actually go ahead and put an A&L fuse right here. I can put a remote battery switch for the inverter as well. So I want to be able to have that emergency, be able to shut that off, right? If I ever want to on the inverter, I don't want to have the draw or whatever right there. I can go ahead and shut that off. I can still leave that other charger there because that's still a great charger. And I'll use that for the engine batteries, which are 2 of those, 2 Group 31s each. And I can use that for my generator out back. So, and if I want to, I can wire it all up and have it charge up the house bank. But because of this big Xantrex charger, it has a high output. Well, that's what I'm really gonna wanna charge the most, guys. If I start my generator up in the morning, maybe I'm gonna take a shower and I want hot water and I want that inverter to reverse and be charging my house bank, I wanna get as much capacity back into my house bank. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. We're gonna go ahead, we'll get this laid out a little bit better. We'll get the batteries moved over here. I'll get the battery parts all laid down for it over here. We'll make the cable runs here. We'll figure out what's the best practices for running our cable. I'm imagining I'm gonna have to do an oblong hole right here to Zeus that wire, come through on this side, and then just bring it right on up. So now I kind of got a shopping list of things that I need to do for down here. And yeah, I think I'm gonna move that outlet. That'll actually be pretty simple to move that outlet over there. That should be pretty straightforward. And now we just gotta get after it, guys. Figure out cable links, draws, make sure we're on the right size. Like I said, I know it's 4/0 for that inverter. It's just a big draw. And I'm actually kind of stoked. I don't have to like re-engineer the wheel. I gotta move an RBS. That's easy. And add an RBS. That's pretty easy as well. And what's an RBS, guys? RBS is a remote battery switch. That means I can turn it on and off outside of the engine room. I don't have to come into this space right here and turn it on and off. And obviously I'll also have my A&L fuses as well with spare fuses. So, all right, guys, feeling pretty good about this. This is starting to come together. Now we just got to get after the engineering of it. Now that we know everything fits, I can start figuring out cable lengths and all that. Let's get after it. All right, guys, we had a little bit of behind the scenes technical difficulties in the video editing side of the world. That's on me, but make sure to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button down below. Next Saturday, we will be back in the shop. We're gonna get the starboard all cut out. We're gonna get all of those pieces starting to cut and make sure everything's gonna fit and start getting it laid out on the bench before we get back on board the boat and get everything mounted up. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We'll see you next Saturday with another Sully's Mistake Factory. Peace.